Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science of truth, the study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which is science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. I always say in the Western context, when you want to debunk mythology, now you have a word called Sattology. Use it. But if you're looking from a Sanskrit word, then Sanatan Dharma, Itihas, these are the bona fide words to use. Itihas and history is not the bona fide word to use in for the Vedic Shastra, but for Western audience, when you're talking to them, you can talk about history, ancient history. So I have very, very special guest who has inspired millions to read Mahabharat, either to debunk him or to understand him. And also, I always call him a Rishi and Muni, and modern Rishi and modern Muni. Actually, there is nothing modern in this world. And believe me, Vedic period is still going on. Do not refer to it as Vedic Kal. No. That is the way the Max Muller referred to it. But Vedic period is still going on. We are living in the Kali Yuga. So the Dwapar is crossed and you're still in the Vedic. You can never skip the Vedic period. Okay. So you're still, Kal is constant. Kalo Asmi. So Kal is constant. Samvatsar is constant. And believe me, and a lot of things I am learning every day from all of you. So without delay, let us welcome Rishi, Muni, researcher, and also a great scholar, Shri Nilesh Oak.
Namaskar Aditya ji. And
आपके
the
नाम
one,
आपके नाम
yeah,
में नीलकंठ है.
yes, the one you said, when you said there is nothing modern, and one of my professors, when I was doing right here in Atlanta, my executive MBA at Emory University, his name Rich Gilkey, okay, and he was in some capacity, I forgot, strategic capacity, campaign, advisor to President Bill Clinton. Okay, wonderful. This Gilkey, Professor Gilkey, wonderful guy, very knowledgeable, very erudite. One statement he used to say, this resonates with what you said, like there is nothing modern in the sense. He said, anytime anyone feels that, oh, I have come across something revolutionary, meaning I have figured out something revolutionary, something amazing, some amazing insight, some amazing new contribution. He said, you know what? Go read old books. And you're going to find out more than likely 99% of the time somebody else has said it more in a more erudite fashion, more crisp and clear fashion than what you think you have done. And if you read it, you get that experience.
Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter talks about today's world, like every day that line becomes true. The first 20 shloka of Krishna describes today's world like anything. And according to the Vedic time system, the age is deteriorating. People had more advanced knowledge in the past. So when you say modern, I mean, the connotation becomes that we are degrading actually day by day. And people are getting stuck in the dogmas and rather than the science aspect of it, which is the Vedic version. Vedic version is all experience. So one of the questions that comes to us is like when we talk about people. So the one thing I must congratulate you, because the more and more people I'm interacting, more and more people have started reading or Mahabharat because of our discussions on this channel. And credit to you, either to disprove you or to understand you. And this is big credit actually, because most of the people they come with a Darwinian thought, and Max Muller thought, and they've already assumed जो भारत का today's map is there, India, that is the Mahabharat map. And they are hell bent on proving it. So they bring all the Madhya Desh also, they make Madras. Just and then they made Bahalik as Punjab. So like they're hell bent on proving it. They even forget the logic that 47 Pakistan was separated from India, Bangladesh was separated from India, Burma was separated from India, and Sri Lanka is a name given in 1972.
Yeah.
They just forget everything. And before that, Sri Lanka's name was Himaladesh.
Correct.
Ceylon is a like a British usual lack of understanding of Simhala. They couldn't say it, they call it Ceylon. And also, they forget everything that 1919 Afghanistan was separated. So, what do you call such people who are just fixed in like a stone? They are like patthar ka lakir. They're supposed to know that they are not pashan. They are humans. So,
Yeah.
they have to change. They have to learn and adapt and improve. So, what do you have to say on that?
Okay, well, I'll make a comment on that, the patthar, and if I forget, remind me. But before that, you extended, like, you said many people confuse today's India as the India of Mahabharat. I was reading one tweet, not the famous New York Times, just like Times of India has become a toilet paper. The New York Times has got that toilet paper in it. It had a statement that somebody quoted in a tweet, which said, India separated India a partition from Pakistan in 1947. So the reason I'm quoting that is, see, before 1947, what existed? India existed. There was no Pakistan. But the statement of New York Times, okay, this is the Mahima of a Kali Yuga, and you said it very well. Now, so-called modernity did brings many great things also. I mean, let's acknowledge that, even the industrial revolution brought a lot of things. In many ways, it improved our life standards, sometimes at the cost of nature, destroying the nature. I mean, that's something we need to be aware of. But in terms of what we call suvidha, conveniences and so on and so forth. But now you said the degradation, and I agree, the modern and now postmodern is a further degradation. So modern, if modern was a degradation of an ecology, like a kalpa, now this is a degradation of a mana. This is a degradation of a mind. With the postmodernism, what it is doing is a degradation of mind. From that, these thoughts will come. Like, so India partition, India came into existence from Pakistan in 1947. That's the kind of nonsense people are writing, right? But back to your question, which is related to this, like why people have a brain, like a stone brain. Well, that's where the term comes. He is stoned. The person is incapable of thinking. And, in our Indian political landscapes, there are folks who are stoned, literally stoned, they cannot think. And you get to see them in a very respectable position. Okay. So-called respectable universities in the West will host them. Now, what does that tell about those people? But what does it tell about those so-called universities? It's all agenda. It's all agenda driven. So stoned, I would say there are 3 categories. One is someone may be sincere, but because of the past karma, okay, the person has been given a chance to improve, but the past karma, therefore we should watch what we do today. Like all of us, when we do something, is it in the search of a sat of that Sattology? Is it in the search of the truth? Or am I just creating a jugaad? I'm just supporting some agenda of mine, and I'm just doing this for a very short-term effect so that I can be in the limelight. Guess what? This karma river, okay, is just a continuously flowing river. You may feel for a minute that you are in the limelight and you got something. The karma is a bitch, right? I think you wrote a book on that or something, right? It's going to, yeah, you have to keep those next to you. There you go. Okay. And I read some quote, I forgot now. It's like, it says like, karma is not a bitch. Karma is actually very just. You are a bitch, when you don't do the right things. I saw something on the Twitter, and so karma is very actually neutral. It's like a fire. If you use it to boil the water, it's going to be useful. If you put your finger in it, it's going to burn you. It's neutral. Karma is actually a neutral. It's actually very just, right? In terms of what it does. So back to you. A couple more points. So some people are just bringing that baggage from the past karma, past life, okay? Or even some of the lazy years spent in this life. Some of the trolls that I come across, absolutely no sense of comprehension. Now, you know what? In some area, in the people's eyes, in public eyes, they can be, oh, this guy is erudite for this particular subject. It could be Sanskrit. knowledge of Sanskrit. It could be the person has some PhD in some subject. It could be some person is a professor in some university. But you just touch them a little bit and you are going to see what a utter garbage is there in their brain. I mean, they cannot think straight. And this is not out of any anger. This is out of compassion. So it's literally like a Maitri Karuna Mudito Pekshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Apunya Vishayanam Bhavana Chitta Prasadanam. I mean, you feel for them. You feel what a sad state of life existence they're living. So that is another type of stone. And then some are deliberate. They're putting the mask, they're putting the mask. So, but again, Krishna describes all of them, I mean, Sattva, Raja, Tama through 14 chapter and 16 chapter, but also Devi and Asuri Pravrutti, but 17 chapter, Krishna describes that.
The too many masks are there and people feel pity on us all the time that we are only focused on this. And I thank you for their pity and for their compassion on me. But and all of us who are engaged in this, everyone has to go through the struggles. And according to me, Kunti Maharani was the most intelligent person ever lived on this planet.
Yeah.
Because she asked for dukha.
Vipada. Yeah.
Vipada. Because this is place Dukhalem Ashashvatam. So if the place is meant for dukha, ask for dukha. But everyone expects sukha, then there is a problem. In Anityam, Asukham, Lokam, twice in Gita. Anityam. But the problem is like the sukh is trying to discover our real self and get out of this cycle nonsense like the otherwise. And so therefore I challenge the word modern on the basis of Bhagavad Gita, because that Kali Yuga is a deteriorating age. And even though we may have all the conveniences, but the personal quality of lives of people have gone down. The food has gone down. The air we breathe has gone down. The people have gone down, which bring you down regularly. And through mantra, through Mahabharata, through Ramayana, through Bhagavad Puran, we keep it up. That's how we keep ourselves up. Either you get lost. When I see the big book reviews, and by the way, Indian author got the Booker Prize in a Hindi book, where she mentioned the very, like, people don't want to touch the real issues. They want to touch the award, the person who is giving the award is also a fool. And the person who is writing is encouraged in his foolishness also.
Yeah.
So like if I tell you how bad I'm living my life, and I write a book on that, and it becomes a bestseller. Okay.
Yeah. That is postmodernism. Postmodernism at work.
There's nothing learned by other person. It's just that the other person will read it and become more depressed.
Yeah, it's a dumbing down. See, the idea is to dumbing down of society, and therefore the few people are going to benefit from it.
Yeah,
it's like a simple credit card. Okay, credit card is to get people hooked on consumerism, right? Now, some of the people like you and me will benefit from it, like the 2% rebate. I get all my 2% rebate. How much I ever pay to a credit card company in interest? Zero. Okay, because I'm going to always pay on time. So similarly, this is a good thing. But in this postmodernist nonsense, what they are doing, these Booker prizes, I mean, all these prizes are so arranged. Okay, then that person, even Nobel Prize now, unfortunately, to push their agenda. So, we calling them dumb. In a way, they are, say, Ravana was a very intelligent person. He might have a different agenda. Okay. Similarly, these people have agenda, very specific agenda, and a very strategic look at it. So they want to create this person. Then everyone in India who is otherwise busy in cricket and Bollywood. Fortunately, the Bollywood nonsense is now slowly falling off. It will take time. People have to consistently work on the idiocy of Bollywood and many other platforms, and that's helping. But it is the dumbing down of society is the singular perspective, singular project, singular objective based on these all things are done.
Yeah. And also for the viewers who are complaining that the first part is usually wrong, but I must tell you, the middle is the cream. The first part is the first loaf of the sandwich, and the last is another loaf of the sandwich. So if you eat the full, then the taste is optimum. So that's why me and Nilesh discuss other topics before and after.
Correct. It's like, I mean, those people who know the Indian dish vada pav. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have the pav, all you're eating is a vada. Nothing wrong with it. But our menu is a vada pav. It's
That's
not
right.
only vada. Okay. And it's not pav. Also, see, it also, I mean, I understand the comment can be extremely, I mean, the comment has a merit, right? Why are you discussing other subjects? Somebody asked me, like, it's a 1 hour program, and I don't have that much time. But I hope that person is intelligent enough that if they're watching on the YouTube, they know how to use the fast forward there, get to the
Exactly.
point, so they can watch whatever they want to
They
watch.
want.
And
That's right.
finally, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of thinking. I mean, that's our thing. Okay, let me get into the
Yes.
presentation. You have to enable me so that I can share it.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. So we are doing the planetary evidence from Mahabharata text. Quick summary so that everyone is on the same page. We started with Arundhati Vasishta. It tells us which area not to even bother looking at. And still, we look at that area because there are many, almost 99% of other Mahabharata researchers who are claiming something in the area which is not supported by the Mahabharata text. For example, any date after 4636 BCE or 4508 BCE, that's actually the same thing, cannot, is not, will not be supported by the evidence of Mahabharata text. So that's the beauty of a Arundhati Vasishta observation. Of course, Arundhati Vasishta observation does not give you the specific year of the Mahabharata war. Now we looked at Bhishma Nirvana evidence, tremendous evidence. That text gives you another narrow bracket, which very beautifully matches with the outcome given by Arundhati Vasishta observation. It gives that middle portion, which is validated by Arundhati Vasishta, which is validated by Bhishma Nirvana, that's 1600 years. Like 5000, just for simplicity, think of 5000 BC to 7000 BC. That's it, guys. You cannot go before this for the year of Mahabharata war. You cannot go anytime after this for the year of Mahabharata war. Then we got into planetary evidence. And now we are looking how this is a beautiful jigsaw puzzle. A jigsaw and a crossword puzzle together, a complex puzzle, fun to solve. And if you truly understand it, which means you have to do some tapasya, you have to have a shraddha, that's where it begins, but you don't stop there. If you put some tapasya, understand some very basics of astronomy, you will get goosebump after goosebumps. Krantam granthi tada chakre munir gudam kutuhalat. This Mahabharata text is full of curiosities, full of mysteries, full of twist. Okay, it's a puzzle, as I said, jigsaw puzzle, crossword puzzle. We looked at Vakara. Vakara is what? For example, Adityaji, I mean, everyone would be seeing me on a screen. For a second, let me stop sharing. So it's like my view is rather visible. So let's see if people can see this. Now, in childhood, number of you would have played this game, or your parents might have played with you, or you might have done with your parents, with your friends, or if you are parents, you might have played this with your children or in general. This is some literally like a trivial game, but see, look at this finger. And so the middle finger is, of course, the longer one here, and then the short finger. And you with a small kid, you'll play this game. Hey, say, do you want me to bring this small finger on the other side? The reason I'm showing this is to explain that Vakra motion. Okay. So this middle finger, think of this as the path of the sun. It's called the ecliptic. Okay. It's the ecliptic. Now, so if you want to change the small finger on the other side, so right now it's on this side here. When I look at it, it's on my left here. So what I'm going to do is, to a small child, you keep on doing like this. And when you are doing it, you just, of course, switch the finger. And now the small finger is on the right side. Think of the middle line as the ecliptic, and the Vakra motion is this planet, it's on the one side now, but it goes on the other side. Of course, not the way I'm doing it. It simply crosses that middle path and goes there. So the reason I did this to you, showed the demonstration to you, is because I am going to quickly share the astronomy simulations for this. So Magha Swangarako Vakra Shravanecha Brahaspati. Mars went Vakra near near Magha. Jupiter went Vakra near Shravan. And also remember, Krutva Changarako Vakra Jesthaya Madhusudana Anuradha Prarthayate Maitram Samshaya Manniva. I'm going to show you one more thing also today. Okay, something very fascinating. Then remember that same Mars description continues in Udyog Parva. It says, Nunam Mahadbhayam Krishna Kurunam Samupastitam Visheshenai Vashneya Chitra Pedayate Graha. So what it is saying is, Angarak, Mars went Vakra, that is the oblique crossing. I'm going to show you in a minute, near Nakshatra Jeshta and Anuradha. Just remember these guys' name, okay? I'm going to show you astronomy simulation of it for Magha. I mean, Mars doing near Magha Nakshatra, Jupiter doing near Nakshatra Shravan, and again Mars doing near Nakshatra Jeshta Anuradha. But in continuing with this description, it is the description of Angara-Kundali continuing, and Karna is telling the Krishna, he's describing the Nimitta. These are all Nimitta guys. Okay. Because why I'm mentioning? Because there are utterly foolish Mahabharata researchers who will confuse the common lot by saying, by this is Nimitta, this is analogy, this is Upaman, this. So why it is like a astronomy evidence? Astronomy evidence or any type of evidence, even the Saraswati River evidence, even the chronology, Bhishma Nirvana evidence, doesn't matter which evidence, it all comes in the form of a poetry. It comes in the form of embellishments, alankar, nimitta, and all of this. So it's just continuing, and therefore Karna is describing what he's seeing in his dream. Now, these Mahabharata researchers who, when because they cannot explain Arundhati Vasishta, because they cannot explain any of these astronomy observations, when they randomly, arbitrarily pull one astronomy observation which happens to match for their claim date, or they think it matches, in reality that even doesn't match, there they don't talk about nimitta, okay, because they want to use that as evidence. But anytime they cannot show a certain astronomy evidence from Mahabharata text true for their date, they just say, oh, this is a nimitta, this is a upaman, this is something else, this is an embellishment, and so on. Look at this. So after Mars going Vakra near Jeshta Anuradha, it is also in that verse describing it's some other action. And Karna is describing this to Krishna. Nunam mahadbhayam Krishna kurunam samupastitam visheshenehi vashneya chitra pediyate graha. In a very unique fashion, in a very specific way, visheshena, it's that same planet, which is Mars, afflicting, giving pida to Chitra. Okay. So remember where we talked last time about the pida. Okay. Pida, like sun, moon giving a pida. Then Saturn giving pida to Rohini, Sun, Moon giving pida to Rohini, Jupiter giving pida to Rohini. So that was a one set. Here we have another type of a pida. Now you say, oh, how come another type of a pida? Well, as we go through this, sometime we'll bring all 5 types of pida together too. It's such fascinating. But something is doing to Nakshatra Chitra. I'm going to show that to you as well. Okay. So remember that oblique crossing. Now, this is what you're seeing on the screen, and I don't know if you can see it. I'll point out with the mouse. This is that description of Mars going obliquely crossing near Nakshatra Magha. Okay. So this is that what I'm saying, like the middle line is the line of the ecliptic of the sun. The smaller finger, like a shorter finger, is on this side. And as if like, the game that I just described, I can just switch over the finger, and this smaller finger, shorter finger is on the other side. That's the oblique crossing. Of course, not with the fingers. I'm just giving that as a metaphor. Okay. Because metaphors are always, brought from something that we know in our ordinary life. But again, Aditya ji, you talked about the stone intellect, the stoned intellect. Then the people say, but that are the planets doing like this? Then all we can tell that person is, man, forget Mahabharata, you are just not ready for this. Do something useful, whatever you are capable of. That's why we have our Varnashrama system, okay, do something that you are capable of. This is not your piece of cake, don't go here. So Mars is going Vakra, obliquely crossing near Magha. That is what it said. So I'm going to take you, so I'll mention the dates also, okay? So April 5562, that is the date here. So about what? About year and a half before the Mahabharat war. Okay, this is the path of the ecliptic, path of the sun as at rest in the sky. Again, somebody says, but oh, I looked at the sky and I did not see that line. My advice, you are not ready for astronomy. You are not ready for a Mahabharat. Do something simpler, useful that you are capable of doing. Okay, this is for our reference in astronomy software. And if you are expert in astronomy, even a decent expert, you know what that means. Okay, otherwise you have to take it on a Shraddha. This is the path of the sun. Okay, as it rests in the sky over a period of 1 year, and of course over a period of thousands and thousands of years. There is no change or a very little change into that ecliptic. Okay, practical purposes, you can say there is no change. So this is the line, or this is the ecliptic. We'll call it ecliptic, path of the sun. Mars is on the, here on the picture, if you want to look at it, it's on the left side, or you can say it's on the south side. Again, if you understand astronomy, no issue. If you don't understand astronomy, you must learn if you want to understand this stuff and enjoy this stuff. Otherwise, tough luck. So about a year and a half before this, April 7, 5562 BCE, this is a Rohini Nakshatra. When I pull the shots from simulation, I try to pull a nakshatra if I can pull. Okay, this is a Aldebaran star. Mars is on the south of the ecliptic. Okay, Rohini star is the south of ecliptic. We know that. Therefore, I just picked that star. Okay, and Mars is on the south. Now let's progress through the time. Now April, May, June. Now we are in the June 5562 BCE, about a year before Mahabharat war. What do you see? That same ecliptic, Mars is now right on the ecliptic. So it was on the left or to the south. Now it is right on the ecliptic near Nakshatra Punarvasu. Again, let's fast forward the time, June, July, August, and now you come to August. And what do you see? The Mars has now completely crossed the ecliptic and it is on the other side. And when it clearly came on the other side, as per the observations that we look at, and we'll talk about of the telescopic observations also today, okay? And the fun that other Mahabharata researchers do, the flip-flopping that they do, we'll talk about it. So Mars is now on the other side. This is what the Vakara motion is. And why it is said Maga Songarako Vakara? Because this is the point when it is clearly, distinctly has crossed over and come on the other side. Just keep this definition in mind, because I'm going to show you how consistent are the astronomy observations and descriptions of Bhagwan Vyasadeva, written, composed, preserved for us for more than 7,500 years in the text of Mahabharata. So this is our first Vakra. We have talked a lot about Vakra. Today, I just found the opportunity to show you actual demonstration. Okay, so this is the first Vakra. Now, remember what I said? I will come back to this Mars doing near Jyeshta Anuradha in a minute. But that Mars doing something special, Vishesha. Okay, what is special today? Special dish, special on the menu kind of thing. Near Nakshatra Chitra, in a special way, in a very specific way, very unique way, it is troubling Chitra, Nakshatra Chitra. So remember the time that we talked about? Okay, that was April, June, August of 5562 BC. Fast forward that time, come to November of 5562 BC, which is what? Exactly 1 year before the Mahabharat war. The evidence tells you that the observations that are made, astronomy observations that are made, are at the time of Mahabharat war, in the sense Mahabharat war plus minus approximately 1 year. That's what you're going to find out. That's what Mahabharata describes. Samvatsaras thainancho graho prajvalito ubho vishakhayo samipasto brospati shaneshcharo. Okay, all right. Now comes November 5562 BC. Notice the nakshatra Chitra. Very important. Huh? This is nakshatra Chitra, which is modern astronomy star Spica. Just like Rohini is a star Aldebaran. Okay, all right. So what is happening here? Remember now, just pay attention why Mahabharata is saying in a very special way, this planet meaning Mars, is troubling Chitra. Okay, think of Chitra as a girl, and some boy Mars, is like, teasing her. Not good. Okay, but that's the kind of a metaphor that you will actually see. Visheshane Vashneya Chitram Pidayate Graha. This planet is teasing, torturing, afflicting Chitra. So this is Chitra here, beautiful spica in modern astronomy. Mars is here. Remember, it has come from the Magha. Now, after crossing ecliptic near Magha, it is come to Chitra. November. Now, I'm going to give you shots 1 month with a switch of 1 month. So November 13, now come to December 13. And what do you see? Mars is just before Chitra here. And if you go 1 month after, you see after Chitra. And people may not find big deal about it. That's what we see in the sky. Now, do you know how long Mars takes to go through one nakshatra? If it is not retrograde, it takes about 20 days. But if it is retrograde, it is going to be there for a long time. And that's exactly what happened at the time of the Mahabharat war. We have seen it. Dhruvam prajvalitam ghoram apasavya pravartate chitra swatyantare chaiva. So Chitra is here and Swati would be here, up in the sky here, north. Okay. Chitra is out to the south. Chitra swatyantare chaiva dishtitah parushagra. It has become steadied there for a long time between Chitra and Swati. That's what I'm describing. That is what Karna is describing to Krishna. And that again, Vyasadeva will describe to Dhritarashtra when he says Dhruvam prajvalitam ghoram. My point is, we started in November. Mars is near Chitra. We go forward in time by 1 more month to December 13. Mars is near Chitra. Remember, in 20 days, it should go from one nakshatra to the next. Let's go 1 month further, January 13. Now we are in 5561 BCE. Okay. Mars is near Chitra. Switch over by 1 more month to February 13. Mars is near Chitra. Let's go further by 1 more month, March 13, from February 13 to March 13. Do you notice something? Mars is actually much closer to Chitra. Switch over by 1 more month to April 13, Mars is still near Chitra. And even if you go to May 13, Mars is near Chitra, but now it's going away from Chitra. So almost not possibly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about for 6 months. Practically, Mars was near Chitra. Okay, just making a circle there. That is that Visheshane Vashneya Chitra Pediyate Graha. Now, let's look at the second crossing of the ecliptic by Mars, Vakra. Angarako Krutva Changarako Vakram Jesthaya Madhusudana Anuradha. Again, same thing as what we did with the Magha. So that Chitra that I just showed you, okay, this Visheshane Vashne Chitra Pediyate Graha, we start from there. And now let's see what Angarak did. So April 7, 5561 BCE, okay, we give further time now. Mars was near Chitra. Very good. Now go further. May, June, 5561 BCE. This is like about 6 months before the Mahabharat war. What is Mars doing? Mars is now right on the ecliptic. So it was to the right of the ecliptic, like north of the ecliptic. Now it is on the ecliptic in June 5561 BC. And then you go another month, July 5561 BC. And notice Mars is now on the left side, like that finger, okay, on the left side or to the south of the ecliptic. And where is it? Where did it accomplish that? It accomplished near Nakshatra, Jeshtha and Anuradha. Krutva Changarako Vakra Jesthaya Madhusudana Anuradha Prarthayate Maitram Samshayamanima. Okay, the Maitra, Mitra is the deity for Anuradha. That's another name of Anuradha Nakshatra. Okay, so we did what? 2 Vakra and 1 Visheshane Vashne Chitra Pediyate Graha. And remember, there is 1 more Vakra. Jupiter going Vakra near Shravan. I have discussed this a lot before. I'm going to show you the simulations of it. Okay, let's start the clock again. August of 5561 BCE. Okay, so August, September, October, just only 2 months before the Mahabharat war. Jupiter is near Uttarashadha and to the north of the ecliptic or in the to the right of the ecliptic, whichever you want to remember this. Fast forward, come to March. Okay. Now, which March I'm coming? From August 5561 BC, because remember, Mars moves very fast. Venus moves very fast. Mercury moves very fast. But as soon as we come to Jupiter and Saturn, they don't move much. They move very slowly. Jupiter takes 12 years to complete a circle. Saturn takes 30 years to complete a circle. So Jupiter, even just to move within that nakshatra space, is taking a long time. No, nothing surprising about it. But see how beautiful and long-term and meticulous and precise and accurate observations have been recorded by Bhagwan Vyasadeva at the time of Mahabharat war. So August 5561 BC, 2 months before the Mahabharat war, we have a Jupiter on the right side or the north of the ecliptic near Nakshatra Uttarashada. Now we are going to March of the next year. Okay, so war has happened and Bhishma Nirvana has happened. Okay, Arjun has gone and brought the wealth. Parikshit is being born, and now Ashwamedha, that Ashwa has been let loose for Ashwamedha Yajna, and it is roaming around. We are talking of that time. Okay, but observations are being made. It is not that far from the Mahabharat war. And what do you see now? You come to March and you see Jupiter now right on the ecliptic. Now, Uttarashada is the nakshatra just before Shravana, Uttarashada and then Shravan, then Dhanishta. And actually between Shravan and Dhanishta, if we go further north here, is the nakshatra Brahma Rashi. Brahma Rashi, Samavrutta, Lohitango, Vyavastita, but we will not go there today. Okay. So between Shravan and Dhanishta is a Brahma Rashi at the time of Mahabharat war. But we are looking at this Shravanacha Brahaspati. So Jupiter is obliquely crossing the ecliptic near Nakshatra Shravan. That's what I'm showing you. So Uttarashada, next Nakshatra is a Shravan. At the time of Uttarashada, it was to the north of the ecliptic. In March of 5560, it is right on the ecliptic. Jupiter is right on the ecliptic, and fast forward the time. So again, remember, Jupiter moves very slowly. That's why we have to go almost a period of 1 year from August 5561 BC to August 5560 BC. Now, look, Jupiter is still there. It's right there at Uttarashada and Shravan, but something magical it has done. Okay, it is going to go retrograde, of course, for about 5 months out of that. But the Jupiter that was on the north of the ecliptic a year ago, it is still there in the same region. It finally came on the ecliptic in March of 5560 BCE. And if you go further to August 5560 BCE, now notice it is to the left of the ecliptic or it is to the south of the ecliptic. This is the Vakara motion described in the Mahabharata text. Okay, and then I'll skip this. I will also show you how this retrograde motions also happen, but some other time. So this is a Vakra motion that I just described. Then we have a retrograde. Then we looked at Akramya. Now, just from the Akramya, only remember this reference for today's discussion. Okay, Dhumaketur Mahaghora Pushyam Akramya Tishtati. So Mahabharata is saying that that planet, the Mahaghora, very scary comet, okay, Dhumaketu comet, scary comet, had settled near, was waiting, Tishtati, settled near Nakshatra Pushya. Very important for understanding the telescopic abilities that existed during the Mahabharata time 7,500 years ago. Okay, now some of you must be wondering, what is this guy talking? Yeah, if you really want to understand, keep listening. Okay, Dhumaketur Mahaghora Pushyam Akramya Tishtati. How do Vyasadeva know a scary comet has settled meaning settled there for a long time? Because that's the settled description of Akramya and Tishtati everywhere here. Saturn was near Bhaga Nakshatra for 2-3 years. It was near Chitra Nakshatra for 2-3 years. And Jupiter was there near Nakshatra Jeshta for 2 years. Okay, for a very long time. And if you look at that scary comet near Nakshatra Pushya, it will fascinate you how long it is there near Nakshatra Pushya. Okay, we talked about what comet that is. That is Halley's comet. But just remember this verse for today's discussion, because we are going to talk about the telescopic abilities at the time of Mahabharata war. Dhumaketur Mahaghora Pushyam Tishtati. And this is very important. Why? Because the 3 next references I'm going to show you, no other Mahabharata researcher dare discuss them. Why? because if they open their mouth to discuss them, people, everyone will know. Not that people don't know, people are already coming to know, but everyone will know again for nth time that that's a fiasco. Okay, it's a disaster. That those dates, any date after 4600 BC cannot be true. Not just because of Arundhati Vasishta. Arundhati Vasishta proves that. Bhishma Nirvana also says the same thing. And all the planetary evidence is also saying the same thing. But why am I mentioning this? Because good number of Mahabharata researchers do refer to this scary comet near Nakshatra Pushya. But as soon as I'm going to explain the next three references, they change the goalpost. Because those 7 planets, as described in the Mahabharata text, 3 times are there, and we can show this only for 5561 BC. But because other Mahabharata researchers cannot show that for the date they claim, now they change the goalpost, because again, they don't understand scientific acumen, they don't have a Vijnana Buddhi, they don't have a logical rethinking skills. Do you know what they do? They say, well, hold on. So are you saying there were telescopes? No, I'm not saying there were telescopes. I don't know. I don't have evidence for it. But the telescopic vision in some form existed, has to exist. Otherwise, these references have no meaning. Now, those other 3 references, they don't talk because it destroys their claim. But number of those researchers do talk about this comet, scary comet near Nakshatra Pushya. I'm going to show you, unless Mahabharata times people had a telescopic ability, they will not able to describe this observation either. So they had a telescopic ability is the inference we are drawing. We are not claiming anything. We are taking the Mahabharata evidence, we are testing it for the specific claim. All other claims, they fall off because nobody can show that. For 5561 BC, we can show all those 3 observations I'm going to share to be true. Now, a successful theory always brings questions of higher complexity. It does bring this question. And Adityaji, the way you said, Sanshay is a good thing. So person should say, wow, I thought Galileo discovered a telescope. No, actually the telescopes existed in Western Europe. Even the area that was extremely backward from a civilizational perspective, there were telescopes. People did experiment with telescope before Galileo. Galileo was the first one to use it in a very creative, meaningful way to point them at the stars. So we have to give great credit to Galileo. I mean, as far as the Western European civilization and the growth is concerned, Galileo is to be congratulated. And he therefore showed celestial is equal to terrestrial. Okay, that's a different subject. But yeah, telescopes existed. If you go to ancient Indian temples, you can see the telescope-like instruments, and actually people looking at the sky, the statues there, looking at the sky and all that. But my point is, even we don't have to use that as evidence. The Mahabharata evidence leads you to that inference. So somebody says, where is the evidence? I said, that is the evidence. Now go look go. If you want to dig around for a telescope, I consider it to be utterly foolish endeavor. But if you want to do it, I'm willing to give you my best wishes. Go dig and see if you can find one. You may be lucky, you may not be lucky. So remember this: Dhumaketur Mahagora Pushya Akramya Tishtati, a scary comet near Nakshatra Pushya at the time of Mahabharat war. It cannot be described by anyone unless you have telescopic abilities. Okay. Now, this is not required. The onus is not on the person who is taking a Mahabharata text and showing this to be true for his claimed date, 5561 BC. The onus is on all of us. That is how the knowledge grows. Okay. So let's look at those 3 1. We looked at Vakri, we looked at retrograde. Now let's add these 1. We also, of course, have looked at Akramya and the Pida. Okay. So we are slowly bringing them together. Now, in Mahabharata text, there are 3 references. It says something in the context of 7 planets. In a modern astronomy, we will call that super conjunction of planets. Okay. So 7 planets, and I'm going to explain you exact references. 7 planets doing something to the sun, 7 planets described in the context of the sun, and 7 planets described in the context of the moon. There are a total of 3 references. 2 references in the context of the sun, 1 reference in the context of the moon. Let's look at them. The first reference, this is before the Mahabharat war began. Now, Mahabharat war began on the Kartik Amavasya day. It continued through the first half of the lunar month of Margashirsha, and then 2 days of the second half of the lunar month of Margashirsha. So it started on the Kartik Amavasya, it ended on the Margashirsha Vadya Dvitiya, Dvitiya, Tritiya, somewhere there, around Nakshatra Pusha. This is before the Mahabharat war. What Vyasadeva is describing is that, or what Vaishampayana is describing, you can say, is that both armies, the Kaurava army and also the Pandava army, Pandavas are to the west of Kurukshetra, they are at the Upaplavya. Kauravas are, of course, at the Hastinapur, east of Kurukshetra. Okay, this is in the northern India, north of Delhi, we are talking. So from the west side, okay, from Upaplavya, like Rajasthan, you can imagine, from that area, Pandava army came, and from the east side, from Haryana, so think of like the Meerut area, not exactly Meerut, but that area, from there to Kurukshetra. Both of armies began their journey towards Kurukshetra, preparing for a war, the pre-war preparations. Okay, the war hasn't begun until 16th of October. This is like a 6th October. They arrived 10 days before. They arrived at the battlefield, arrived at the Kurukshetra. And in that context, Vaishampayana is describing, he says, Magha Vishaga Somas Tadinam Pratyapadyata Dipya Manasya Sampetur Divi Sapta Mahagraha. Magha Vishaga Soma, when the moon was in the nakshatra Magha. Okay, that's why you don't see Magha here anywhere in the map, and therefore you don't see the moon, because moon is near nakshatra Magha. Now, how do you do that? Very easy, guys. If you are curious, if you don't take this on a Shraddha that moon was near Magha, take astronomy software. Okay, go to October 6, 5561 BCE and see what is the position of the moon. If it is not near Magha, I can tell you with a confidence that the software, astronomy software you have picked for your investigation is either not very good quality or it needs a delta T correction. Okay, so again, guys, if you cannot be lazy and curious. Okay, what we call is just a curiosity. Kutuhal is not enough. Okay, you have to have that practical curiosity, creative curiosity, action-based curiosity, where you do something about it. You will find moon is near Magha. So here what he is describing is, on that day when the moon was near Magha and when both armies came to Kurukshetra, the sun, okay, this Dipya Manasya Sampetur Divi Sapta, Divi is in the sense of a sun there, Sapta Mahagraha. So sun is not included in those 7 planets. So the sun was in the company of near 7 planets. Now, those people who don't understand astronomy, okay, or misunderstand astronomy, they will say, oh, yeah, so 7 planets near sun, which means they need to be exactly near sun. Okay. That can be one interpretation. If it is that's a wrong interpretation, but if it is that can be right interpretation, if it is that person's interpretation, then onus is on that person to show for his or her claimed year of the Mahabharat war how all the 7 planets are very close to the sun, the way he or she wants to see them. You cannot demand evidence. Vyasadeva has given a generic description, Sapta Mahagraha. But what I'm going to show you, I'm telling you, no other Mahabharata researcher can show this for that claim they make for their year. So 7 planets can be seen in the sky. They were present in the sky at any given time, okay, above horizon. Think of it, if that helps. Okay, what are those? We can start from the left side here, okay, which is the east direction, you can say. Don't confuse with the direction. For in astronomy, we have to do that sometimes so that the picture makes more sense and it's not like upside down. So Neptune is here. So as I do the numbers, you can count them. Aditya, you can count, or those audience who is listening to it, they can count. Neptune, Uranus, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, okay, and and Saturn. Okay, so how many we had? Neptune, Uranus, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn. 7. If you count it like me, 7 planets, same time on the horizon, I mean above horizon with sun on that day. This is the corroboration. Now, again, I said somebody is going to say, well, hold on, but they were near, they were close to sun, which means they should be like right here. If that is your interpretation, the onus is on you to show how they were that way on the day when moon was near Magha, just before the Mahabharat war, for the date any other Mahabharata researcher might be claiming. Okay, because Mahabharata evidence is a fact, and the fact that these R7 are on the horizon is also a fact. Now, fortunately, we also have 2 additional opportunities to see the consistency of this interpretation. Like they are above horizon and they could be seen in the company of a moon or a sun. Can I show this the same thing for the 2 additional descriptions that Bhagwan Vyasadeva has given in the Mahabharata? Let's look at them. The next description of 7 planets doing something. Now, 7 planets attacking the moon. Now, remember, this is a kavya. Vyasadeva is describing and noting down the positions in the sky. Celestial is equal to terrestrial in that fashion to describe the war scenes on the ground. Okay, that is the way. That way, he is time stamping exactly when the Mahabharata war happened, and that's the only reason we could say that it happened 7,583 years ago. That accurate, that precise. On the 14th day of the war, 13th day, the Kaurava army, Kaurava warriors killed Abhimanyu in a very wrongful way. The next day, before sunset, Arjuna killed Jayadratha. And because this is the day of a full moon, Purnima, remember the war has begun on the Amavasya day, and now this is the 14th day. So the day is very, very close to Purnima. In fact, see, look at this double circle. This is the position of a full moon, and moon is almost ready to get to there, which is like Purnima has possibly began. 12 degrees before that would be beginning of a Purnima. So I don't know. I mean, we could do that fun calculation if somebody wants to. My point is, it is a day close to Purnima or the day of a Purnima. Not a surprise. That day, the war continued through the whole night. Okay, and only when a lot of dust, because of the war, a lot of dust got into the air and the visibility was gone, they stopped the war for some time. Arjuna requested to stop for a few hours. And when the dust settles and again the full moon is visible, the war resumed until sunrise. And after that sunrise, they stopped for a minute to do their morning prayers. And again, the war continued. This is Dharma Yuddha. Okay. Now, on the 14th evening, so just after the sunset, or at the time of sunset. Okay, that is the description if you look at the chronology of the 14th day. So therefore, I picked that same 14th day of the war is the 29th October 5561 BC. War has began on 16th of October. So you can do the counting 16, 17, 18, 19. If you come to 29th, it is the 14th day, evening. I have shown here sun deliberately to show that it is just below the horizon. So sunset had just happened. And now look at the description. Te pidayan bhimasenam kruddha sapta maharatha praja samvarane rajan somam sapta graha iva. 7 Kaurava brothers, as the evening arrived, as the sun set, the war started with more enthusiasm, and actually it continued through the whole night. And what was happening that time? The description says 7 Kaurava brothers. There are 100 Kaurava brothers. Out of them, 7 Kaurava brothers attacked Bhima. And Vyasadeva is describing that by looking at the sky and what he's seeing in the sky. He says, as if the 7 planets were attacking the moon. Just like the 7 planets were attacking the moon, 7 Kaurava brothers started attacking Bhima. Okay. Now, this is the just risen moon of a full moon day. Okay. Or maybe a day before full moon day, you can say. Okay. And in the sky, in the presence of the moon, even when the sun is down, okay, we are going to look for 7 planets. Okay, where do we start? Let's start from the moon. So starting from the moon here is Pluto. Okay, near Nakshatra Kritika and Rohini, we have Pluto here. Then, so that's 1. Again, do the counting. Then Neptune 2, Mars 3, Venus 4, Uranus 5, Mercury 6, and here the name is not showing, but this is the Jupiter. Okay, if you have seen before, Mercury is very near Jupiter. I'll show you again on the next page. The third reference, Jupiter, 7 planets. 7 planets simultaneously above horizon with the moon on the 14th day of the war after sunset. How beautiful. Te pidayan bhimasenam kruddha sapta maharatha praja savarne rajan somam sapta grahaiva. Now, how did they see Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto? We are going to come to that. Okay. Answer is simple, guys. Telescopic abilities. Okay, the last one. In the Karna Parva, on the 16th day of the war. So on the 15th day, after that whole night-long war, that was the 14th night, 15th day the war continued, and at the end of the 15th day, Drona was killed by Drishtadyumna. So next day, 16th day, now Karna is the military general for the Kaurava army. And in describing the battlefield, the war scenes of the 16th day, again, Vyasadeva is describing this, is saying, Nishcharanto Vyadrushanta Suryat Sapta Mahagraha Ulka Patascha, and blah, blah, blah. But you will just take first line. Nishcharanto Vyadrushanta Suryat Sapta Mahagraha. Again, simple, we can say 7 planets were seen along with the sun. 7 planets were seen going away from the sun, Nishcharanta, okay, whichever we want to take it. But the thing is, can we show the 7 planets going away from the sun? Now, remember the first day when I showed you the Magha Vishag Somam, I included Saturn, like the 7 planets near sun was in the vicinity of 7 planets. Here, I have not taken Saturn. And people would say, oh, hold on, what's the problem? Well, actually, Saturn I could take. I can still show the same 7 planets to you. They have not moved much. Okay, they cannot move much in like 18 days. The reason I'm taking this different combination is because of the word Nishcharanto. They were moving away from. So now, which direction they move? Unless they are in retrograde, all the planets are going from west to east. Okay, this is not the diurnal motion, not the daily motion we are talking. We are looking at that motion with respect to that ecliptic, that line you are seeing. So it is going in, all the planets are going in this direction, including moon and a sun, as seen from the earth, of course. So they are going away from the sun. So at a minimum, what is required? That they need to be going away from the sun, away. They are not, they should not be in a retrograde. And if I want to include the Saturn to validate this observation, then Saturn should be not in the forward motion. Saturn should be in a retrograde. Again, I'm just giving us some exercise for some people who have some decent knowledge of astronomy to check and have goosebumps. Okay. But my point is, let's look at 7 planets. Those are going in a forward direction or steady, whichever you want to say, but definitely not coming backwards in a retrograde fashion from sun. Again, you can see that this is a Jupiter here, Mercury. So let's count: Jupiter, Mercury 2, Uranus 3, Venus 4, Mars 5, Neptune 6, and then we have Pluto 7. Okay, so the 7 planets. Okay, so quickly back here, we showed 7 planets near sun on the day about 10 days before the Mahabharat war, when both armies came to Kurukshetra, when moon was in the Magha Nakshatra. That can be shown for 5561 BC. I assert that it cannot be shown for any other year. And this is my open challenge to all the Mahabharata researchers. Okay? All the Mahabharata researchers, exception none. Then you look at the reference on the 14th day of the war, evening. Okay? At the time of sunset or just after sunset, 7 planets attacking the moon. Okay? Again, my challenge, this can be shown only for 5561 BC, October 29. No other year, open challenge to any Mahabharata researchers, the same thing. This is precisely the reason no other Mahabharata researcher will talk of this observation. And if you bring them to their attention, immediately they will change the goalpost. They will change the goalpost in 10 different ways, such as they will not say anything, which is also in the Nyaya Darshana says accepting the defeat. Because the evidence exists in Mahabharata. Or they will say, oh, but where was the telescopic ability? Well, yeah, we don't have evidence for telescopic ability, but we have an inference that they had access to telescopes or telescope-like instruments, or some ways they had a telescopic ability. That's all we can say. Whether they did it in a dhyana with some magical powers, whether they did with telescopes, whether they had some other instruments that we even don't know, just like infrared and whatnot. We don't know that. We just don't know the answer to that. But we do know that they have to have a telescopic ability. Otherwise, these three descriptions plus I want to bring back to this Dhumaketur Mahaghora Pusha Akramya Tishtati. This observation is simply not possible. Let me see in the things that I showed you, if I happen to have area of a Pushya Nakshatra. Maybe I don't have it in this scene. If I had it, because I have to go further than Ardra, I would have showed you the position of Halley's Comet near Nakshatra Pushya. Maybe I'll do it next time. I want to stop sharing. The important point I want to make it is 4 observations, or at least 4 observations, Aditya-ji, that tell us that Mahabharata times, 7,500 years ago, they had telescopic abilities. In fact, I will add one more thing, Aditya-ji. Just like they had telescopic abilities, or they have to have telescopic abilities, sage Vasishta in Shanti Parva actually describes the microscopic abilities, Sukshma Drishti, and the 23 tattva, 23 elements that one could observe. Okay. Now, what those 23 tattva he's describing, we don't know, but he's describing Sukshma Drishti. Think of this as a Divya Drishti. The dew actually comes from the sky. Ability to look at the objects at a distance. Of course, we use Divya Drishti in many different ways, which is to say, now we say ability to see things, which is not true for ordinary people. That is true for even a telescopic ability. That is the Drishti, Divya Drishti. Similarly, there is a Sukshma Drishti. And we have evidence in Mahabharata that Mahabharata times, they had a telescopic ability. They also had microscopic abilities. Back to you.
Again debunks modern theories, modernism, the word modern, and also the yantra mentioned many places in Mahabharata. I've gone through all the pages of Mahabharata, every single shloka, more than 1,500 references of yantra, different types of yantra. And you're right, Vasishta Muni in Ramayana, they had a full idea about the sky, full idea. Agastya Muni had full idea about the sky.
Yes.
And the movement of the stars, and they could observe them also. That means they all had human bodies, but they could observe. That means they had these abilities actually.
Correct.
Again.
And they were observing for thousands and thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
As an Indian civilization, Hindu civilization, Hindutva civilization, Vedic civilization, whatever you want to call it. That's why the Swati, the path of a Nakshatra Swati that Rupa Bhattiji describes, Hanumana is describing in Ramayana.
Exactly.
As a metaphor, they're using it. Now, today, if you use Swati metaphor, people will say, what are you talking? Who is Swati? They are the metaphor, this knowledge of a movement of a Swati Nakshatra, which is a very high proper motion, was such a known common stuff to everyone they were discussing. They could use that as a metaphor. Just like I could use this small, fingers, that everyone can relate to this. Yeah. Very fascinating.
And we did a Dwarka show also, one of the shows. We should revisit Dwarka actually, more evidence.
We will.
Because I was seeing and Ajay Jha's program, because that was an interest for me. He was describing his location is not accurate. I think so. Because it has to be in the middle of the ocean. Cannot be in a peninsula, because the Revatak has to be exactly on the east.
There you go. Yes.
And exactly on the east. And there, according to his direction, goes southeast.
Correct.
And the Latavishta has to be exactly south.
Yes. And that civilizational memory is there in the Mula Dwarka near Somnath.
Exactly is there. So again, brings to the same point of modern. So you and I are talking on Zoom, and we are talking on iPhones and other things, but in a regular conversation, we don't mention that. It's not important.
Correct.
More important is the message being communicated.
Right.
So similarly in Mahabharata also, the message was more important than the tools being used.
Yes.
And nobody talks about the interplanetary travel of Vyasdev. I can give a whole lecture on interplanetary travel of Vyasdev.
Yeah. Yeah.
That how Vyasdev used to travel at will and
Correct.
disappear at will.
Yeah. Well, and if you remind me, I will have to prepare with his observations. We will talk about interplanetary travels in our times.
Our
Dr.
time.
P.V. Vartak, less than 50 years ago.
That's right.
And I will show again the scientific method that we use, triangulation of explanation, prediction, testing in the context of a theory in the background knowledge. I will bring that and I'll show you his travel. And show you meaning what? I will present what I know.
Yeah.
We'll leave it to people to make their final conclusion.
Final decision.
Just like they're doing it about Vyasa.
Americans are surprised about alien invasion theory. By the way, every single immigrant come to this country is not given an alien registration number. So everybody is an alien here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm also an alien because I have a brown skin and I came from India, and that's why it's like the whole conversation about UFO and people spending billions of dollars on lives. And even though you and I are American citizens, nobody listens to us. No mainstream. No one will call you. Okay, where is the Mahabharata evidences, Aditya? Nilesh ji, where is the Mahabharata evidences? We are just sitting here. We are doing our own show on the talk show, and nobody cares.
Which is we are fine with it, right?
We are fine with it.
Satatam kyoti antoma yatantasya dhrudharta. We are having our fun.
It's like
if
a katha.
If they want to participate, we are very happy to share with them.
Correct.
But there is no compulsion. If somebody doesn't like it, YouTube is full of all kinds of stuff.
And I see the podcasters like Joe Rogan and getting mesmerized with Graham Hancock talking about aliens on the laser theory under the Amazon. And I said, are you crazy? Okay, all right, you found a whole city under Amazon. Now tell me, were they more advanced or you more advanced? Were they more modern or you more modern?
Yeah.
Look at the structures they have made. Guatemala, Nakumi architecture in Guatemala.
Amazon itself, Bolivia, Peru, Chile.
Huge structures like spread over acres of land.
Yes, Easter Island, as if like they had no business. They are creating these big moais,
Yes.
Yeah. I have been to Easter Island. I've been to Chile. You went to Chile, right?
Many times. Yeah. Like dumbing down the civilization.
Correct.
Like we are dumbing down every day. And believe me, just because America is most powerful today, doesn't mean they have the best knowledge today. They're acquired from everywhere else.
Yeah. See, there are serious researchers in America. Their voice is suppressed. Okay. Now, see, Graham Hancock does fascinating stuff. But even in the case of Graham Hancock, I want to tell, what I meant to say is Graham Hancock, I love what he does. Okay. But if you consider the quality of evidence, the amount of evidence, and the level of logical reasoning and scientific objective testing that is brought in our discussions, I would say, and I'm openly saying this with a great respect to Graham Hancock, and I'm fascinated. I have his book. I have his all books, by the way. What the quality of evidence and the level of objective testability of what the evidence Graham Hancock brings and the way he connects is not even a 10% of what we do, Aditya ji, on this show.
On this show. I know that.
Okay. Yeah. Not even a 10%. Huh? And I'm saying what he does is extremely fascinating, by the way. And I admire it.
And we'll tag in this video Graham Hancock also.
Please do.
I will never buy Graham Hancock's books because the reason I tell you why. Because Europeanism, his brain is filled with proving the 16th century enlightenment of Europe. And I say 16th century is not enlightenment. Okay, a dumb person needs to be enlightened. But Indian sages 16th century, they were also writing great books over there.
But for Western Europe, enlightenment is correct, right?
Correct.
Until then, it was a dark period. They're living with rags, unfortunately, and with a very few people at the top. Literally slavery, practical slavery there. Other people are being totally exploited. That was the scenario, unfortunately.
Even today, the slavery is going on because the royal family of Britain and the royal families of all the European countries, they treat their subjects as peasants or not nobilities. Still going on.
Correct.
By the way, the world, I must congratulate you. All of you are out of slavery except Europe. Europe is still under slavery. So anyway, thank you so much, Nilesh ji. And you bring so many points. And also, have the full vada pav, not just the vada. Vada is very
Correct.
important. Without vada, there is no taste in. But vada pav makes with chutney. So there was chutney also. We had all the masala in this show. So
Yes.
thank you so much and
Thank you.
namaste.
Namaskar.